show.
A phone call from the vice president-elect to the president-elect. Democrat Joe Biden emerged as the winner Saturday of a contentious battle for the White House as voters narrowly pushed him over the finish line to fix a battered economy and a divided nation, as well as fight the coronavirus pandemic. The declaration came just before noon after a batch of mail-in votes in Pennsylvania expanded Biden's lead in the battleground state so wide there was no chance of President Trump catching up.
They did, and we won.
That was all that was needed for major TV networks to declare him the winner of the state, pushing Biden's tally in the Electoral College beyond the needed threshold to 273 after days of ballot counting and nights of national nail-biting. Knowing that he will lead a bitterly divided nation, Biden tweeted on Saturday, quote, "America, I'm honored that you have chosen me to lead our great country. The work ahead of us will be hard, but I promise you this, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you voted for me or not." There were spontaneous celebrations in city streets across America.
The people spoke. We showed up, we showed out. Woo-hoo! I'm so proud of our people.
President Obama joined in the celebrations, congratulating his former VP in a statement, quote, "We're fortunate that Joe Biden has what it takes to be president and already carries himself that way." Trump, who was not at the White House but out golfing when the election was called, wasn't in the mood to accept defeat. He immediately accused Biden of, quote, "rushing to falsely pose as the winner." Trump, who also said in a statement that this election is far from over, has repeatedly, without evidence, made claims of electoral fraud. His legal team, which includes personal lawyer Rudolph Giuliani, laid the groundwork Saturday for their strategy to try to stop Biden from his victory, claiming discrepancies with mail-in ballots in Philadelphia.
Same thing was done in Georgia. The same thing was done in Michigan. The same thing was done in North Carolina. Seems to me somebody from the Democratic National Committee sent out a little note that said, "Don't let the Republicans look at those mail-in ballots." These lawsuits will be brought starting on Monday.
Trump supporters who were in disbelief took to the streets to vent against the Biden win in several, quote, "stop the steal" demonstrations.
If it's not reversed, if we don't get a change to the count, and it's a legitimate count, then he's going to be our next president. Unfortunately, I think that that's going to take our country off the edge of the cliff.
The legal challenges, though, are likely to have little bearing. Even after the race was called, other states like Arizona and Georgia were still counting votes, and Biden had at least one more win before the day was out. He was named the projected winner in Nevada, taking him even further beyond the magic number of 270 needed to clinch the vote.
Greece capital city Athens were deserted on Saturday on the first day of a national lockdown brought in to curb the spread of coronavirus. All retail stores except those selling essential items such as food, medication and fuel will be shut. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis announced the lockdown to curb a rise in cases. The city of Thessaloniki went into lockdown earlier in the week. Last Friday, Greece announced 14 new deaths and new 2,448 new cases, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 52,254, with 715 fatalities. A text messaging system is also being put back in place to grant people permission to leave their homes, allowed only for work, exercise, shopping for essentials or visiting a doctor. Greece imposed an early lockdown in the spring when it still had just a handful of cases. The move was credited with keeping the number of cases, deaths and seriously ill people with COVID-19 low. The space race is on, and China has leapfrogged the war in the satellite communication. Not only did China send 13 more satellites into orbit, it also successfully completed a world's first sending up a 6th-generation communication test satellite. The device was put into space by a Long March 6 carrier rocket that blasted off from Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center. The 6G satellite was among 3 Chinese satellites successfully launched into orbit, along with 10 commercial remote sensing satellites developed by Argentinian company Satellogic. Named after the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China, the satellite was jointly developed by Chengdu Guoxing Aerospace Technology, UESTC, and Beijing Minospace Technology. It will be used to verify the performance of 6G technology in space, as the 6G frequency band will expand from the 5G millimeter wave frequency to terahertz frequency. The satellite is the first technical test of terahertz communications application in space. The technology is expected to be over 100 times faster than 5G, enabling lossless transmission in space to achieve long-distance communications with a smaller power output. Ivory Coast opposition leader and former Prime Minister Pascal Affi N'Guessan was under arrest for creating a rival government after President Alassane Ouattara's election victory. Ivorian prosecutors are pursuing terrorism charges against more than a dozen opposition leaders who boycotted the October 31st vote in which Ouattara won a third term in office and announced that they were creating a transitional council. The standoff has raised fears of protracted instability in the world's top cocoa producer, whose disputed 2010 presidential election led to a brief civil war. More than 40 people have died in clashes before and since the latest vote. Affi was arrested overnight after the public prosecutor confirmed that he was being sought by the police. The police were not immediately available for comment. Affi served as Prime Minister from 2000 to 2003 under President Laurent Gbagbo, whose refusal to concede defeat to Ouattara after the 2010 election sparked a civil war which killed 3,000 people. The opposition claims Ouattara has violated the constitution by seeking a third term. Ouattara says approval of a new constitution in 2016 restarted his mandate and allowed him to run again. More than 1,000 members of Thailand LGBT community and anti-government protesters joined in a pride parade, one demanding equal rights, the removal of Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha and reforms to the monarchy. A protest movement that emerged in July has drawn a wide range of interest groups to push for greater democracy and human rights in the Southeast Asian country. Wearing colourful outfits, LGBT members marched side by side with the mostly youth protesters dressed in black shirts. Protesters had initially demanded the removal of Prayuth, a former junta leader they accused of engineering last year's election to keep power. But demonstrations have also broken taboos by calling for curbs on King Maha Vajiralongkorn's powers. Prayuth says last year's election was fair and has refused to step down. The palace has made no official comment on the protest, but last weekend the king said we love them all the same when asked to comment to the protesters. The United States set a record of more than 126,400 confirmed cases in a single day. The 7-day rolling average of new daily cases in the US is approaching 100,000 for the first time, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. The total US cases since the start of the pandemic are nearing 10 million, and confirmed cases globally are approaching 50 million. Worldwide infection numbers are also setting records. The world reached 400,000 daily confirmed cases on October 15, 500,000 on October 26, and 600,000 last Friday. The 7-day rolling average for daily deaths in the US rose in the past 2 weeks from 772 on October 23rd to 911 on Friday. Those numbers were higher in the spring and August. The global death toll hit a daily record of 11,024 confirmed deaths on Wednesday. A Chinese young man named Gu Ye, who lost his left arm in an incident in 2018, regained the movement convenience in daily life from a smart prosthetic hand, as high-end technologies are widely applied in the healthcare industry. Speaking of the unpredictable misfortune of his disability, Gu said, quote, "It destroyed my hope about the future until I found this smart prosthetic hand," unquote. Spending no more than 3 days getting used to the new robotic arm, he can now make various daily chores such as eating meal, drinking water and lifting some weight under 20 kilograms proficiently with the prosthetics. Managing the prosthetic hand finally as a part of his body, Gu can even thread a needle with it. The intelligent prosthetic hand was supported by the technology of brain-computer interface (BCI), which interferes with the transfer of brain signals. Explanatorily, the brain signals are delivered to neurons and then revived by sensors by the prosthetic hand. And then, the signals are read, analyzed and translated into commands by the BCI systems, which allows the hand to do whatever the brain wants it to do, marking the most advanced applications of the BCI technology. Such a technology is expected to benefit the 20 to 30 million people with physical disabilities in China, 15 of which are related to the hand and arm, and then 1 billion people with physical disabilities worldwide.